Hello and welcome to week 12. Wow, this semester is really term, whatever it is really flying by. And I want to first wish all of those in my hearing who are veterans. Today is Veterans Day. And I tell you from the bottom of my heart how much I appreciate everything that you and your families have sacrificed to protect us. It is so very important that you're there and that you do what you do or have done what you did. And we will be forever grateful. All right. The second thing I wanted to say is I appreciate your patience with me this past week. I was speaking at a conference so when you're traveling, you got to go and you got to get ready, and then you got to, and I presented 3 times at this conference. So that kind of wears you out too. So anyway, bottom line is I am back in my office and I appreciate your patience with me and my slower response in responding to your emails. Okay, but I'm back in action and we're ready to talk about the endocrine system. What? How fun. All right, so let's see. The endocrine system is all over the body. Okay, it's in your brain and it's in your neck. It's in the center of your chest. And it is in the base of your torso as well as your genitals. Okay, can you all hear me okay and see the screen? Wonder what no response means. No response. Hello? Can you hear me? Huh? No? Okay, I don't want to let the recording go. So, yes, can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. All righty. So, as I was saying, the endocrine system, it consists of the pituitary gland, which starts up here. And look at all of these terms that you need to learn to understand what is going on with your endocrine system. And remember that the endocrine system is what makes the hormones. It's what makes teenagers a little, It's what brings women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, the wonderful experience of menopause, which I call puberty part 2. All right. So anyway, the pineal gland is here actually in the center of your brain, the hypothalamus. And remember, hypo meaning below. So that tells us there's a thalamus gland and then the hypothalamus gland, which is below that. Then you have your thyroid and parathyroid glands, which are in your neck. Then you have your thymus, which is here, about the center of your chest, right? Now we're moving lower into the torso, and we have the pancreas. We're going to talk about the pancreas. You remember we first mentioned the pancreas when we talked about the digestive system, because the pancreas is a dual membership organ. It participates in the digestive system and it participates in the endocrine system. Very, very important. Okay. Then sitting nicely nestled on top of each of the kidneys are the adrenal glands. And now we get into gender specific. So the girls, females, have ovaries, and then the boys have the testicles. Okay, All of these hormones working in sync, we hope, at proper levels gives you a smoothly functioning human being. Well, with regard to hormones anyway, okay? And we know that because the endocrine system is so complex that things can go wrong. All right, we don't want that to happen. So the first thing we're going to talk about is that hypothalamus, which is located within the third ventricle of the brain. And you can see it here in the picture, that little yellow spot. And look at all these parts of the brain that have terms. And again, these are not things that you need to sit and memorize. You want to get a sense of familiarity with the terms like paraventricular nucleus. Okay, if you are working for an endocrinologist, then you would want to get into a further depth with regard to what all of these terms mean. Okay, for now, we want to focus on the hypothalamus, which is, as you see, responsible for the creation of 8 different hormones. And remember, hormones activate many functions in your body. So when hormone levels are too high or too low, we have dysfunction within the body, okay? Excuse me. So next we have the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland has 2 parts to it, the adenohypophysis and the neurohypophysis. Those are big words, aren't they? But with what you are learning in this class in medical terminology, I'll bet you can figure them out, right? Adeno, like adenoids, right? Okay. Hypo, meaning below, and then physis, which is an organ that produces and releases hormones when prompted by the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is in charge of that. And when that is working properly, it will tell the adenohypophysis when to create the hormones and when to release the hormones. 2 very important things. Okay. The neurohypophysis, neurological, hypo below, is responsible for storing 2 types of hormones that you'll remember come from the hypothalamus. And you learned that in the beginning of that chapter when in your reading. Okay. Now we're coming down to the neck. Okay. Right here in the center of your neck, right about in men where they have the Adam's apple, it's right around there. Okay. The thyroid gland has 2 lobes, if you will, and you'll see it here. That's what's in the red. Okay. And it wraps around the trachea laterally. And then you have the parathyroid glands, which work in conjunction, and there are 4 of those that work in conjunction with the thyroid gland. Now you see how we have a point of the nodule that can be a lesion, a growth on the thyroid gland. That's not very good. You may know someone who might have hypothyroidism, low levels of the thyroid hormones, or hyperthyroidism, which means too many thyroid hormones. And one of the early signs of hypothyroidism is gaining weight without any actual change in diet. okay? Because these hormones work in conjunction with the storage of adipose and all of that stuff. Okay, so you learned some of this in anatomy and physiology already, and here you are just getting used to the terms and what they relate to within the body. Okay, all part and parcel of whatever your job is going to be. This is the language of healthcare. You're going to work in healthcare. You have to have a sense of what these words mean. Okay, now the adrenal glands, these are organs that sit, and you can see them, there's yellow hat, kind of looks like a hat on top of the kidneys, each one of the kidneys. Okay, so you have a left adrenal gland and a right adrenal gland to go with the left kidney and the right kidney. Isn't that nice? You want to stay balanced, right? All right. Also known as the suprarenal. And renal, you'll remember, is the root term that relates to the kidneys. And supra means on top of, above. The superior aspect of each kidney above. And these two little yellow masses sitting on top of your kidneys produce more than 25 adrenocortical hormones. And I wanted to include this because those hormones are also called corticoids or corticosteroids. And that might sound familiar because maybe you know someone who's taking a corticosteroid medication, which means that they need a little oomph in regard to these hormones and the production and release of these hormones. Okay. And last but not least, we have our pancreas. The pancreas that's shaped like, well, I don't know what shape that is, but anyway, it kind of nestles inside, and you'll notice this, the brownish color, that is the duodenal, the duodenum that comes from your stomach as it's digesting food from your stomach, right? And then you see the gallbladder in the green, and you see how the gallbladder duct, also known as the pancreatic, I'm sorry, not the pancreatic duct, the green is the gallbladder duct, the bile duct, all right, that's feeding that bile into join where the food is coming out of the stomach, and that helps in digestion. So you remember that the gallbladder is really nothing more than a storage tank. And then as needed, it will put that bile through that bile duct and through by way of the pancreas, it will then join in the duodenum as the food that you're digesting starts to move into your small intestine. Okay, now, in addition to what we learned about the pancreas when we talked about the digestive system several weeks ago, it is here in the endocrine system because there are these cells included in the pancreas known as the islets of Langerhans, also known as the pancreatic islets. And this is very important because when these are not properly functional, they can cause a condition that you may have all heard of known as diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus, you know, when you've talked about this or learned about this, you may remember that the issue with diabetes mellitus is the amount of insulin in the bloodstream, right? But the root cause of diabetes mellitus is a malfunction of the pancreas. And the way it processes insulin into the bloodstream, it's just easiest to measure the insulin in the bloodstream, which is why in the olden days, patients used to have to prick their finger and get capillary blood to measure their insulin levels, their A1Cs. And nowadays you have continuous insulin I'm sorry, glucose measures where the patient just sticks it on their side or on their arm, wherever, and they read it on their smartphone. It's really amazing and incredible. Okay, so we got a whole bunch of new terms for you to relate to the endocrine system. And of course, if you know somebody who has diabetes mellitus or may have diabetes mellitus, that is the care of an endocrinologist. That would be the specialty. Also, someone with hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism. Those are the three most common reasons a patient might go to an endocrinologist. But as you have learned, the system is full in gear to help keep you healthy and help keep other body systems working properly. And also it is the endocrine system that releases the hormones that enable a woman to get pregnant. And men, of course, to share in that delightful activity. Yeah, okay. So the bottom line is this is important to the proper workings of the entire body, and you got to know the terms, just enough to know where to look when you're looking these up. Okay, so remember what I always tell you, because I truly mean it. You want to review this information, these terms often. That's how they will stick in your head. And I go through these body systems and talk about these things so that you can not only become familiar with the language, but also maybe see what interests you in case when you get ready to graduate and go out and work in the field, you might decide you'd like to go work for an endocrinologist. No matter what aspect you're working in, whether you're going into medical records coding or nursing or medical assisting or surge tech, the bottom line is each of the body systems has their own unique aspects, and that's why we have specialists. Okay. All right. So use your medical dictionary, because accuracy is more important. It's the most important thing. And whenever you're not certain, query, ask, whether it's me here in class or whether it's the physician for whom you're working. Don't make the mistake of not asking and getting it wrong. Bad. You ask, and then you listen to the answer, retain the answer, and then you never have to ask again. How cool is that, right? Okay. Also, love to remind you about our tutor, Monisha, who is available to you. You can email her at this email address to make an appointment. And of course, you can always email me, because I love it when students ask questions, because it shows me that you want to learn. We can email back and forth. We can set up an appointment to speak on the phone. We can FaceTime. We can Zoom. We can do it any way that makes you comfortable. Okay. I'm here to support your learning. So any questions? All righty then. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and I'll see you next week. And in the meantime, I'll see you in the course. Okay.